Breaking tonight, a new look at the 2016 campaign and race in America, as we get a remarkable chance to speak with one of the most controversial political figures in the country, the Reverend Al Sharpton. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Kelly File. I'm Megyn Kelly. A number of our viewers may be tuning in tonight for news about a meeting I had today with New York businessman and Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. And we'll get to that in just a few moments. First, however, to another New Yorker. A man who has found himself at the center of a number of recent controversies over race, politics, and the police, sometimes at the request of the White House. Al Sharpton heads a group known as the National Action Network. And this week, they are holding a national convention in New York, discussing issues that affect the African-American community and pressuring the candidates to hear their concerns. Hillary Clinton addressed the group today. Bernie Sanders will do so tomorrow. But in between the two, the Kelly File dropped in on the event to pin down Mr. Sharpton, both on his role in a series of controversies and his influence on the 2016 race for president. Watch. Now, Hillary Clinton was here today. She spoke to the group. Are you getting close to making an endorsement? Bernie's coming tomorrow.
Bernie's coming tomorrow, and I'm not close, but I'm not far. I mean, obviously, we're getting down the track. But I think that them coming shows that they understand that the black vote is going to be crucial, so they have to speak to all aspects of the black community.
Do you feel like Hillary Clinton talked today about the Democrats taking the black vote for granted, that they better not do that? A, do you think they do that? And B, do you think the black vote is up for grabs in this election, in particular with Donald Trump running, who says he's going to win the black vote?
Well, I think that the black vote cannot be taken for granted, and how we define not taking it for granted is the issue. Because what we're saying is you must come with some clear, concrete proposals, not sound bites, not just show up at our church and wave at us. Lay out a plan. Hillary Clinton did that today.
To do what?
What are you going to do about closing the unemployment gap? We're 2-to-1 unemployed. What are you going to do about the education gap? Many people agree, even on the conservative side, that the educational inequality in this country has to be dealt with. What are you going to do in terms of dealing with the environmental conditions in our communities, like a Flint, Michigan? Specifically, what kind of attorney general are you going to have?
Do you feel like Barack Obama let you down in that department?
Oh, no, I think Barack Obama did a lot more than people gave him credit. He cut black unemployment in half. He was able to begin the process of letting people out of jail that started becoming, in my opinion, wrongly incarcerated under the crime bill.
What do you think of Donald Trump? Do you think there's a chance he might actually get a fair portion of the black vote?
We're going to get it straight.
You know, we had Omarosa here today to represent.
From Apprentice.
Right, and she's on his campaign, or one of the people. Armstrong Williams was here. I think they will make an appeal. I think what Donald Trump has said about the president, with the birther movement, I think the calling Mexican rapist, I think the whole thing of being coy, as Hillary Clinton said today about KKK, will cost him in the black community, not just because he's Republican, but because of the things Trump has done.
One thing we know is we're not likely to see another black president in 2016. There's no black candidate running for office right now to replace Barack Obama. We might see a black vice president potentially. But what kind of impact do you think that has on the country?
Well, it's something that I said this morning at the early session. We are at a place we've never been in American history. We have never seen a white president succeed a black president. And what will that mean in black America and white America? We don't know. When we see that black family walk out across the lawn to get in the Marine helicopter for the last time, Marine One for the last time, and a white family move in, psychologically, what is that going to do? What does that mean? What will it mean about race in America? Where will we be? And I think that we need to be concerned about it, which is why during the campaign, we need to be very clear on what we're dealing with and what we're not dealing with on both sides. I remember the Republicans had an autopsy. They were going to reach out. I don't know what happened to that. I haven't felt much.
No one called you?
Well, Dr. Ben Carson spoke here last year, but I haven't heard from anybody this year.
What do you make of that, though? Because the race relations in the country are very poor, according to the polls. Most people believe that they've gotten worse, actually, under the last 8 years, which many folks did not expect with our first black president. Why is that?
I think that because our first black president stood up and did so many things that was more in the judgment of many of us fair, people couldn't adjust.
Like what?
Well, dealing with black unemployment, dealing with the educational inequality.
What do you mean? Like white people didn't like that? I don't know what you mean.
I'm thinking that some of them felt that he was just taking care of his own community and by some magic at the expense of others, when clearly every month for 73 months he increased jobs.
What do you make of what's happening in this country right now with the Black Lives Matter movement? How big a factor do you think that is in the 2016 race?
I think it's going to be a very big factor.
There are some advocates of the movement that obviously object to certain Black lives being shot down illegally, and we've seen that in cases, including I think it was South Carolina. But then there are other more controversial aspects of the movement. For example, you know, the chants in this street that we've seen, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. What do you make of that?
But I mean, if you study the civil rights movement from when I was a little boy, you had Martin Luther King, the tradition that we believe in, and you had people that were saying things like that back in those days that we did not believe in. And I don't think that you are not as responsible for people on Fox that say things you don't agree that we don't agree with. There was a time we used a lot of language. When I was younger, I'd use the N-word and call people the C-word, because I come up in the rap generation, that's where you talk. I never believed in violence. I do not believe in denigrating anyone with the N-word, calling people the C-word, calling police pigs or anybody else.
So you don't condone that kind of talk?
I do not condone any of that, and we don't do that in National Action Network. But there are other parts of the movements that do things, and they don't condone what we do.
What about the Freddie Gray case? That's been controversial down in Baltimore. That's being prosecuted under Marilyn Mosby. And she got in a bit of trouble when she came out and said, we need justice for Freddie Gray. We need justice for Freddie Gray. And many attorneys said, or just justice, because if justice takes us to the exoneration of the police, then that's where this case should go. Do you think she misstepped there?
She said we need justice for Freddie Gray because justice for Freddie Gray was the one that died. And justice could be whatever that leads to be, whether it ends up with criminal convictions or not.
Even an acquittal of the officers, that could be justice?
If that is, in fact, if the officers deserve acquittal, if a jury finds them deserving acquittal, then that would be justice. But he's the only one dead. The one that you're looking for justice for was the one who was victimized. The victim here was clearly Freddie Gray. The question is whether what caused his death was criminal or not.
Let me take you back to Ferguson, Missouri, and the case there against Officer Darren Wilson. He shot and killed Michael Brown. He said it was in self-defense, and you came out publicly and said it wasn't in self-defense, that there was no deadly threat to Officer Darren Wilson. The DOJ found that was not correct. They could find no evidence that he was not in fear of his life and exonerated him. Do you feel bad about what you said?
No, don't distort what the DOJ said. The DOJ said they did not find evidence to prosecute him on civil rights.
They said there was no reason to disbelieve, no evidence to disbelieve his story. He was in fear of his life.
They said that he was not in violation of civil rights and that they found no evidence that he was in fear or that he was not in fear.
No, they said there was no evidence to disprove his statement that he was in fear of his life. So we're stopping here for a moment because this is a key point, and one a lot of people missed or glossed over in the hot debate after a grand jury decided not to indict Officer Darren Wilson after the DOJ came out and said they didn't have the case against him. The report from the Department of Justice specifically says the following. On page 11, quote, "The evidence does not support finding that Wilson was unreasonable in his fear that Michael Brown would once again attempt to harm him and gain control of his gun." And again on page 12, quote, "There is no reliable evidence to disprove Officer Wilson's belief that he feared for his safety." That's from the Department of Justice. Let's pick it up again with Reverend Al.
Well, first of all, if the DOJ said that, then that is contrary to what eyewitnesses and others who called us into Ferguson, mind you, Megyn,
but they investigated that.
Can I finish answering your question? I thought you asked one. When we talked to the witnesses and put them on my television show, they told us what they saw. So if I say what I believed to be the case based on talking to several witnesses, I should apologize for what?
My question is,
because
now that's been disproven.
What has been, first of all, if the DOJ gets new evidence and it's not disproven, I stated what I believe. When you get on TV every night and state what you believe to be.
No, I don't.
You don't?
No.
Well, I do. I state what I
know, because you're an opinion guy. I'm a journalist.
Well, I'm an opinion. You just answered your own question. I'm an opinion guy.
Okay, but when your opinion is proven to be wrong by the Department of Justice, Barack Obama's Department of Justice, and a man's life is ruined. I mean, Darren Wilson has no job. He has no life. He hasn't been rehired. Do you bear some responsibility?
If you and I talk to the same witnesses and the DOJ talk to the same witnesses and they don't believe them and you and I do, it doesn't make us wrong. It means.
But you don't talk to all the witnesses. The DOJ does. They get people in there, and it can be a crime to lie to an FBI agent. It's not a crime to lie to Reverend Al.
Megyn, calm down.
Now watch it with calm down.
There's something wrong with.
Ask Bill O'Reilly about that. I had to lecture him on that one himself.
Go by what you said. If I talk to witnesses and I believe them, DOJ may talk to more witnesses. But then you can't come and ask me to apologize for believing something that I was not privy to.
Okay, so that you're just going back to the moment.
But anyway,
I'm talking about after the fact. After the fact, when the DOJ comes back to you and says you're wrong, why don't you apologize at that point?
Apologize for believing it?
For what you said, for telling the world that there was no deadly threat when there was.
But I said what I believe.
Did you correct the record?
Did I correct what record?
Did you go on your television program and report to the world what the DOJ had actually found?
I've reported what the DOJ said.
About the death of Michael Brown.
I don't know that I stated the line you want, but you didn't see me out there protesting afterward, did you? Did you?
I think that's a good place to wrap. How about that? And now to that other story. You may have heard the news today that yours truly took a trip over to Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue in New York City. There I had a meeting with Donald Trump. The meeting was at my request, and Mr. Trump was gracious enough to agree to it. We met for about an hour, just the two of us, and had a chance to clear the air. Mr. Trump and I discussed the possibility of an interview, and I hope we will have news to announce on that soon. By the way, in case you were wondering, yes, the doormen appeared a bit stunned when I walked in. And they, too, were incredibly gracious. Stay tuned.